I'll take the wheel. Wait for that all day.
Hi guys, Fog Gaming here and welcome to one of the best weapons in Call of Duty Warzone. It will kill 2 squads long before you have to reload. You can pick it up from the start and let it carry you all the way to that sweet victory. It's the 100 bullet beast of Warzone. Welcome to the Kilo 141. Today we're gonna break down everything there is to know about this weapon. We will compare the stats, the bullet patterns, and I will show you some of its best loadouts for Call of Duty Warzone. The Heckler & Koch HK433 is a compact modular assault rifle chambered for 5.56 x 45mm rounds. It was designed by Heckler & Koch to be familiar to operators with experience using the G36 and the HK416. The Kilo 141 is a special assault rifle in Warzone. It has a very unique feature that allows it to carry 100 bullets in one magazine, which is exclusive to the Kilo and to the machine guns, but the Kilo does not have all the drawbacks that generally come with these machine guns. Let's go over all the stats so that we can see what this weapon is capable of. The basic Kilo 141 has a standard magazine size of 30 bullets, which is pretty standard for a lot of ARs. It can ADS in 0.220 seconds and it has a rate of fire that is acceptable, with 750 rounds per minute. Sure, the M4A1 still does a lot better with 800 rounds per minute, and of course the M13 will easily beat it with 900 rounds per minute. The damage output is a copy-paste from the M4 or the Grau. So, it deals 42 damage points for headshots and 28 for body shots. This includes arms and legs. This does not mean that you will be able to kill equally fast, because remember, the Kilo has a slower rate of fire. For headshots, you're looking at a time to kill of 0.4 seconds. For body shots, it's 0.640 seconds. If we then look at the M4A1, then we can clearly see that it kills faster than the Kilo with a headshot time to kill of 0.375 seconds and a time to kill for body shots of 0.6 seconds. All of these values are valid up to a range of 31 meters, because this is the Kilo's first damage drop-off point. However, this number can be improved to 45 meters if you use the right barrel, but more on that later in the loadout section. For now, just remember that the SynGuard 19.8 inch barrel gives you this extended damage drop-off point. So after 45 meters, you will cause 34 damage points for headshots and 23 for body shots, resulting in a time to kill of 0.56 and 0.8 seconds. It doesn't end there though, because at 80 meters you're going to run into the second damage drop-off point. So beyond this range, you will only cause 27 damage for headshots and 18 for body shots. Time to kills for 0.72 and 1.040 seconds. At some point you're going to have to reload the Kilo, and it will take you 2.608 seconds. But as you know, this can be improved with sleight of hand to 1.856 seconds, which brings it very close to the reload time of the M13 with sleight of hand of 1.820 seconds. Now that we know what the standard Kilo 141 can do, let's tweak its loadout to make it ready for Warzone. Choosing the right barrel will have a big impact on the performance of your weapon. That is why you should go for the SynGuard Arms 19.8 inch Prowler. It will extend the damage drop-off point from 31 to 45 meters and the second damage drop-off point from 55 to 80 meters. On top of all of this, you will have a higher muzzle velocity and better recoil control. Unfortunately, this does come with a few downsides, like a slower ADS speed and movement speed. Your ADS speed will now go up from 220 milliseconds to 254 milliseconds. A small price to pay for the much larger benefits that come with this barrel. Stealth is a key aspect in Warzone. That is why the monolithic suppressor is a must-have. Not only does it suppress the noise that this weapon makes so that you don't draw any unwanted attention when firing, it also increases your weapon's damage range, making it even more effective at longer ranges. The downsides are that you will have to deal with a slower ADS speed and the worse aim walking steadiness. The VLK is my personal favorite, but if you're more comfortable using something else, then please feel free to do so. The best attachment to turn your weapon into a laser and to make it easy for you to compensate for the recoil is the Commando foregrip. It improves your recoil stabilization and your aiming stability, but your movement speed will suffer. Usually, the last option is a pretty straightforward decision, but not this time. One of the biggest benefits of this weapon are the 100 round drums. On average, you would need 10 bullets to kill one fully armored guy in Warzone. So, in a perfect world, you could kill 10 guys. If you were using the 60 round mags, then you could only kill 6 guys. I know that you would probably use a few more bullets than 10 in order to kill the next guy, because of server latency and so on. But I just want to point out how big of a difference 100 bullets versus 60 makes. We all know that a 60 round mag comes with a reduction on your ADS speed and movement speed. The 100 round drums are even worse. This is something you definitely have to consider when making this decision. Having said that, since it's the only AR that can actually use 100 bullets, I do feel that you should. The time that you're saving not having to reload gives you a big advantage in trios or quads, which means that you can put a lot more pressure on the enemy team. I just released a video where I picked up the kilo that spawns in the game and it carried me all the way to that sweet victory. So the advantages are probably a lot bigger than you think. However, the 100 round drums do have an effect on the bullet pattern. The basic bullet pattern looks like this. The only attachments that were used are the VLK and the 60 round mags. The first thing that you will notice is the fact that it pulls up and then to the left. Most other weapons in Warzone do the opposite, and they will pull up and then go to the right. Make sure that you're prepared for this, because when you try to compensate for this bullet pattern, then you will have to do the opposite thing than what you're used to with most of the other ARs. The other thing that stands out is the big gap between the first and the second bullet. If I then try to compensate for this, then you will get a bullet pattern that looks better than expected, to be honest, but things can still be improved. If we use our best loadout, which you saw a few minutes ago, then the uncompensated bullet pattern will look like this. There is still a gap between the first shots, but this time it's much smaller. The gun still pulls up and to the left, but at a smaller angle, and now we have a tighter linear line instead of something that started to look like a snake pattern. Compensating for this should be much easier, and the result is a very tight bullet pattern. If you swap out the 60 round mags for the 100 round drums, then this will affect your bullet pattern. There is nothing that we can do about the pull to the left or the gap between the first and the second shots. But instead of this nice linear line, we now get something that's starting to look like a snake pattern again. However, surprisingly, this pattern is not much bigger than the 60 round pattern. There is only a tiny increase in the overall height of this pattern, and remember, this time you used up more than 40 bullets extra. So, is the Kilo a great addition to Warzone? Yes it is. Great damage output, slightly slower rate of fire, but it has access to 100 round drums. This is probably the biggest advantage of the Kilo, but you will have to make a very important decision. Will you be using the 60 or the 100 round magazines based on all the benefits and downsides which you just saw in this video? If you enjoyed this weapon guide, then make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my future weapon guides for Call of Duty Warzone. Or you can ask me for extra info during a live stream. The link is in the video description. This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching, and I will see you in Warzone.